The Count 2014, an Illinois campaign and election media project. Funding provided in part by the Illinois Education Association, taking charge of the profession. Online at ieanea.org.
Welcome to The Count 2014. I'm Patrick Yeagle. I'm here with Dr. Kent Redfield, Professor Emeritus of Political Science at UIS. Hello, Dr. Redfield. Thanks for joining us.
Certainly.
So one of the major issues we're going to be seeing this election is campaign finance. There's been a lot of money flying around. Can you put some context on these numbers for us?
Well, 4 years ago, Governor Quinn and the Republican challenger, Bill Brady, spent about $33 million. About 16 of that was Quinn's. And this time around, we're looking at general election spending that's going to top easily $75 million.
Wow.
With the amount of money the Rauner spent in the primary. If you look at a 2-year cycle, you could be talking about $100 million. And those are astronomical numbers, even for Illinois, which is a very expensive state to run in.
Mm-hmm. In the past, you've described kind of a Wild West scenario with Illinois' campaign finance laws. Can you kind of describe what the issue is and kind of how we could address it?
Well, the issue is unlimited spending and unlimited contributions. The legislature tried to address that in 2009, but it didn't take effect until 2011. So the old 2012, the race for governor was run without limits. This time around, there will also be no limits because there are triggers within the law for self-financing independent expenditures where if a candidate spends more than a certain amount, the caps come off for the whole election. And Bruce Rauner has been self-funding his campaign and went way past those caps a long time ago. So this is going to be completely wide open. In addition to that, you've got independent expenditures which are going to be made regardless of whether the limits are there or not, because you have outside groups that will come in and run their own ads. And so when you add the independent expenditures on top of that, the numbers just keep going up and up. Given the Supreme Court's decisions, there really isn't much that can be done in terms of this. We certainly could have better disclosure, but the amount of money is going to be staggering.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe a little bit about the environment of campaign finance and why there's a speech issue there?
Well, the court has held that spending money, your own money, contributing to a campaign, or spending your own money are protected speech. And so they have been paring back limits on who can participate. Now corporations can participate directly. They have always been very suspect of low limits. And we have also gotten a change in communication technology in the way we go about campaigns. And so independent expenditures would exist regardless of what the Supreme Court has done. The Supreme Court has facilitated that. Mm-hmm. In Illinois, we still have limits on legislative campaigns, and we have limits on private money coming into the system. Political parties, on the other hand, are unlimited. Candidate to political party transfers are unlimited. So the reality of the 2009 law has been that actually the political leaders, the legislative leaders and the political parties probably have more power rather than less power, and we've slightly reduced the power of individuals and corporations within the system. Certainly wasn't the intended effect. Mm-hmm. And so 2014 is going to look like 2012 in terms of the structure. It's just going to be on steroids in terms of the amount of money we're spending.
Sure. Can you describe a little bit about the money in the governor's race, the bit of disparity between what Bruce Rauner has been able to raise and contribute himself versus what Pat Quinn has been able to raise and spend so far?
Well, Rauner's raised almost $32 million and since the start of his campaign. The Quinn campaign has raised about $11 million. So there's a huge disparity there. Now, Quinn did not have an opponent, so he spent very little money. Rauner has spent $21 million to this point, which is, the first of July. But if you look at what happened post-primary, those 3 months that we have records for, Rauner spent about $6 million, and Quinn only spent about $800,000. So there's going to be, when the primary ended, the money looked close. It's now going in the opposite direction. Now, Governor Quinn's going to have enough money to run on. This is a very important election symbolically, and the reality on the ground is very important. So labor unions feel threatened, both traditional labor and teachers unions. They're going to have money in the race. In addition to what Rauner has been able to spend and contribute on his own, 4 years ago, the Republican Governors Association gave almost $8 million to Bill Brady, the Republican. You're going to get that kind of push from outside groups, because this becomes highly symbolic as kind of labor, anti-labor, the kinds of issues that were in Wisconsin.
Sure.
And so you've gotten both the combination of the financing that's going on and then the groups that are coming in from the outside. It's going to be wall-to-wall commercials. When Blagojevich ran against Topinka, he had the stage to himself. He ran a lot of commercials during the summer. Now you're seeing dueling commercials from both sides, and that's just going to continue unabated.
The amount of commercials especially plays a large part in name recognition, I understand. Can you talk a little bit about if one candidate can dominate the airwaves like Rauner has so far, what kind of advantage does that give him?
Well, these are threshold kinds of things. Getting outspent 2 to 1 is not bad or fatal if your one is big enough. And so Quinn is competitive. He has name recognition. Rauner has had to spend all of that money to be on the radar screen, and Pat Quinn didn't have to spend that kind of money. Now, if your name recognition can be high and your negatives can be high, and so it doesn't guarantee success. But certainly, what has happened is Rauner has had to spend a lot of money to get name recognition. The other place that Rauner has to spend money that Quinn does not, Rauner is spending a lot of money with contributions to the state Republican Party, to individual county and township and organizations in Cook County and the suburbs, because the Republicans don't have the infrastructure that the Democrats do. And the Democrats, one of the reasons that Quinn won 4 years ago was turnout and get out the vote and their ground game. And so in addition to funding his own campaign, Rauner is also directing money to trying to build the infrastructure to narrow the gap that the Democrats had 4 years ago in terms of the turnout that they were able to generate.
Great. Thank you so much for putting some of this in context for us, Dr. Redfield. You're watching The Count 2014.
Funding provided in part by the Illinois Education Association, taking charge of the profession. Online at ieanea.org.